Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Abdullah, and first of all I would like to thank each one of you for subscribing to the channel. We actually hit a milestone of 300 subscribers, and this is really good news for me. I'm really excited about it, so thank you guys so much for keep coming back. Today's video is going to be about custom formatting, and in my view, custom formatting is one of the very important subject in Excel. If you are an Excel user, if you deal with data, if you produce reports, it's really handy to understand the details of custom formatting because it differentiates you from the crowd. It actually makes your reports pop up. Okay, so let's get started, and the first thing I would like to emphasize here, custom formatting is an easy thing, okay? It might seem daunting to few people at first, but believe me, it's easy. So keep that in mind, that this subject is easy and it's gonna be easy. If you think about it that it's a hard thing to do, then it might be complicated for you to to use it. Okay, so the first thing you need to understand that custom formatting, you can access custom formatting from the more number formats here, or hitting this button here and you can go to the same place. Okay, so as you can see here, you can see the standard formatting that Excel provides, but also you can see custom formats here. Okay, the code that you see here now is what you're gonna be designing, and you can see Excel has provided to you some custom formats that you can apply, and you see some of them can be a little bit complicated at first, but once you watch the video you will understand that all of these are easy to produce. Okay, so the first thing you need to learn is custom formatting consists of 4 parts. Now the first part is going to be the format for positive numbers. The second part is going to be for negative, the third for zeros, and the last one for text. Now all of these parts are separated by semicolon. So if we look at a symbol format, custom format here, so you can see that this part here, from here to here, this applies to any positive number that you put into the cell. The second part is for every negative number that you put into the cell. Now you can see here that zeros and text has been omitted with no format applied to them. So what Excel is gonna do, apply the same format that you have for the positive numbers, or the general format. It depends if it's a text or not. So basically here, no specific format has been applied to zeros and text. And as you can see here, these 4 options are basically what you will be entering into a single cell. So either you're going to put a positive number, a negative number, 0, or a text. So these kind of your options when you work with data. Okay, so let's understand a few of the code elements that we're going to use. So the first thing, it's the underscore. So if you use underscore into your code, that will apply a space, and the space is going to be equal to the width of any character that follows it. Okay, it is used normally to align positive numbers with negative numbers, where negative numbers are within parentheses. Okay, the star here, if you use it, it will repeat the character that follows it. And it's normally used to specify, to design, those formats like the accounting format, where the $sign is at the far left and the number is at the far right. So you use the star to do that. So it repeats any character that follows it. Okay, so for example, if you use star followed by a dash, the dash will be repeated until the number hits right edge of the cell. If you want to specify color for your numbers, you can use, you have to use square brackets. The same thing when you want to format a time as an elapsed time. So if you want to calculate the time between two dates in hours, elapsed hours, you should use square brackets to define that. And if you want to add text, you need to use quotation mark. The add sign here, you can use it here in the text part. What it's going to do, it's going to display any text that you enter into the cell. If you don't use the add, the text will be stored, but it will not be displayed. Okay. The hash and the 0 and the question mark, all of them, they do the same thing, but for insignificant zeros, they behave differently. So if you use the hash, any significant zero will not be replaced by anything. Okay. If you use 0 in your number format, the insignificant zeros will be replaced by a 0. If you use question mark, any insignificant zeros will be replaced by a space equal to the width of the number. And then we have the comma. You can use the comma to display the thousand separator, as you can see here. So we have the thousand separator here. Even if the number goes to millions, the thousand separator is going to be displayed every time you exceed 1000. And you can also use the comma at the end of the number format. So here, after this 0 here. And what that will do, for every comma you add at the end of the number format, it's going to divide the number by 1000. Okay, so if you put 2 commas, it's going to divide it by 1 million. And that is good to shorten big numbers. So if you have a table and it contains large numbers and you would like to kind of display them in thousands or display them in millions, and maybe you can also add a text that says M, for example, for millions. So you can design a custom format and to actually divide the number by 1 million. So the way to do that is to add a comma, 2 commas to get a million at the end of the number here after this 0. Okay, so these are the code elements that we're going to use in designing our custom format. The other thing that that I would like to highlight here is there are some characters that you use inside your custom format. They don't do anything. They just display. They're just out there to display, to help put things in context, to help people understand the data. For example, you can put the $, and you don't need the quotation marks to actually use them in the custom format. So you have the $, the plus sign, parentheses, and curly, brackets, and all of the other ones here. You can use them without any quotation marks with your custom formats to kind of convey a certain message. Like for an equal sign, maybe you can add to your custom format, a text that says total and then an equal sign. So you can do that without having to use quotation mark. But still, if you want to use text, if you want to add text, as in here, adding units for the feet, for example, you need to use quotation mark for any text that you add to your custom format. The other thing that I would like to highlight here that the colors that you can use in custom formats are limited, okay, and for a good reason, of course. So you have these 8 colors. So you have black, green, white, blue, magenta, yellow, cyan, and red. So these are all the colors that you can use for your custom formats. And once you use them in your custom formats, nobody can actually override them using the normal font color here. So the custom formats always supersedes the any other formats that you apply externally. All right, so let's get some examples and do some work on them. Okay, so I have this data set and I would like to do some custom formats on it. Okay, so the data that we see here, they are total, sales for certain products here, as you can see. So we have the sales for 2007 and 8 and 9. And we're also displaying the difference between the current year and the previous one. So this difference here shows the difference between 2008 and 2007. Now, this table, as it is at the moment, is actually a little bit overwhelming for somebody to actually kind of understand some sort of, okay, what's happening, okay? So we can apply some custom format to make this table actually look a little bit better. You know what? I'll give a smaller example first, okay, with just random numbers, just to show you a simple example first, and then we go to formatting all of these numbers and see. All right. Okay, so if we take some random numbers like 1, 2, 3, 4.56, and we take a negative number 7, 8, 9.12, and a 0, and just a text like data, for example. Okay, so we have a positive number, we have a negative number, we have a 0, and we have a text. So we select them and we start designing our custom format. Okay, so custom format, as we explained, you click here, so you find that the format applied is general. Basically, no format's been applied. Okay, so you delete that, and now, as we said, you need to specify the format for the positive number. Okay, so we know this number is a number in the thousands. Okay, so we would like to see the thousand separator. Okay, or you know what? Let's do some coloring first. So we can color this blue. So every positive number is going to be colored blue, and then we're going to specify the number format. Okay, so we use hash, and then we need the thousand separator, and then 2 other hashes, and then zeros. And zeros here just whenever we have insignificant 0, we would like to display a 0 instead. And this applies for values under 1. Okay, and then 0, 0. So this is basically the format that everybody follows. And also for every number that's below 1, it's going to display for you 0.5, for example. If you use hash here instead of the 0, what's it going to display? It's going to display 0.5 without the insignificant 0. All right, so you can see here a sample of what you just designed. Okay, and so just give you an idea if you're doing things correctly or not. Move on to the negative number. So we use semicolon here, and the negative numbers we would like to actually make it red, and we would like to use something similar to accounting, formatting. So we use brackets, parentheses in place of the minus sign. Okay, and in your custom format, when you design the format for the negative number, if you don't use the minus sign, okay, it will not be displayed. It will display as a positive number. It is stored as a negative number, but it will display as a positive number. So anyway, we're defining now the negative number format. So we're going to use parentheses to show a negative number. And then we're going to use the same format that we used for the positive number. So all numbers kind of align. Okay. And for the 0, so we finished the negative number format. And now we're going to use the we're going to create the format for the zeros. So in between quotation marks, or you can, I prefer to use quotation mark with this minus sign, okay, with the dash, but you can use it without, okay. So just for me, as a reminder that I'm using this in place of a 0. So for every 0, a dash is going to be displayed, not an actual 0, okay. And this is normally followed in some of the counting format most of the time. And then for the text, we would like the text to be displayed, so we need to put at here. Okay, if you don't use at and keep the semicolon, the data here, text, will not show up. Okay, so now we finished our custom format the way we like it so far, and let's see what happens here. So as you can see here, the positive, let's make the borders here so we can see. So as you can see here, the positive number is blue and it's formatted correctly. The negative number is red and formatted correctly. Now the 0 is also here as a dash, and as you can see here, it's a 0, and the data is displayed. Now the thing that you notice maybe here, that the numbers do not align. The numbers are not in alignment because the negative number has parentheses at the right side. So it is pushing the number to the left a little bit. So if we can push the positive number here just a tiny space equal to the width of the parentheses here, we can actually align the numbers, the positive number with the negative numbers. So let's go back to our custom formatting here and do just that. So we go here to the positive number at the end, at the right end of the positive number format, and to create a space that is the width of the parentheses, we use underscore. So underscore and right parentheses. So this is gonna give us a space that is the width of the parentheses. And notice now, once we hit OK, what happens to the positive number? So it got pushed a little bit to the left, and it is now aligned to with the negative number because we use the underscore. Okay. The other thing, the dash here normally when you design custom formatting, the dash here for the 0 normally aligns with the decimal point. So the way to do that is you need to push it to the left by a parenthesis and then 2 numbers. Okay, so the way to do that is we first push the now we go to the zeros because the 0 is the one we would like to change. So we go to the 0, and then what are we gonna do? We're gonna first at the right of the 0, so what do we have? We have 2 numbers and parentheses. So to give space that is equal to the width of a number, we use question mark. So 2 question marks. This is gonna provide us with spaces, okay, for the 2 numbers here, and then after that we use the underscore and the parentheses, so we get the space for the parentheses also. So with that, I think we reached our goal. And as you can see here, the dash now it is aligned with the decimal point, and this is what we were after. So this is kind of the way on how to design custom formatting, okay, when it comes to numbers. Okay, now the other things that we can do for this number, you can add $sign if you like, or you can add a unit. So let's define those with this simple example. Okay, if we would like the unit to be here at the far left and the number at the far right, we can come here at the beginning of the number here and input the the unit that we're going to use. So to add the $sign to the numbers here, so you come at the beginning of the number format and you put the $sign. This is the first thing, and you see it here displayed. Now to make the $sign appear at the far left and the number at the far right, what are you going to use? You're going to use the star. Okay, so star, because the star is going to repeat any character that follows it. So let's follow that by space. Just hit the space bar, and this is what you get. So the star here is gonna repeat the space, until the number hits the far right. You do the same thing for negative number, okay? And so you put the dollar sign here and you add the star and a space, okay? And as you can see here, we applied this only to positive numbers and negative numbers. We don't need that for zeros, or we can add that for zeros. Yeah, we can add that for zeros as well. So it's a star and a space, and we leave the text alone, okay? Because you don't want to put dollar sign with the text. And then you hit OK. And as you can see here now, we added the dollar sign to the amount. And even if you increase the width of the cell, you can see that always the number is being pushed by the star to the far right. Okay, so this is how you define a unit. And sometimes your numbers can be length, or specify weight, or something like that. And what you can do the same thing. You just instead of adding a dollar sign, you can add kilogram or pounds or something like that. Depends on your data. All right, so let's now work on these numbers. Let's make them look better. Okay, so the first thing is you need to select all the numbers here, because you would like to apply the same format to all of them. Okay, so now we know that our numbers are big. Okay, so the first thing we're gonna do, we're gonna create the same formats that we created before with the simple example, just to make them look nicer. Okay, so we come to the positive numbers, and let's do the same thing. So we maybe green. Let's use green, for example. See what, not sure how that will look on the screen though. Anyway, so and then we specify the number format for the positive number. Okay, these are big numbers. Normally with big numbers you don't need any digits after the decimal, so you don't need fractions, right? So you're content most of the time with whole numbers. So let's keep it whole numbers, so we don't specify decimal and something like that, so we don't need that. Okay, so as you can see here, the sample is using this first number that we have in our range. So this is got taken care of. The other thing is we're going to specify our negative numbers. So our negative number is going to be in red, and the same thing, we're going to use parentheses here, and instead of the minus sign, and we specify the same format for the negative number to be equal to the positive numbers. Okay, the other thing that we remember, and also here we don't have zeros, we can specify zeros, so we can just put a dash, but anyway, we don't have zeros to worry about. Anyway, so let's push the positive numbers here. Positive numbers. Okay, something I made wrong here is the semicolon. We need semicolon, not a comma. Okay, so the semicolon separates the custom formatting parts, as we discussed earlier. Okay, we need to push the positive number a little bit to the to the left to align with the negative numbers. So we use underscore and parentheses because the negative numbers are within parentheses. Okay, and let's look at how it looks and see. Okay, so the numbers look okay. The green is not really looking that good, and yeah, so let's go ahead and change it to this is the green that Excel uses. We cannot use it, so unless we change the background, it's gonna look bad. So we go back and change it. So we change it back to blue. Blue seems to be a nicer color, and you can see here that okay, this is much better. The other thing now let's make this look a little bit easier to read. Okay, so we're going to divide all the numbers by 1000. You can do that in the custom formatting here. At the end of the number here, just add a comma. At the end of the at the end of the number format here, just add a comma and see what happens to the sample here. Okay, so once you add a comma, it gets divided by 1000, and that's why you see 9. Okay, but now we're gonna get you know, whole numbers, and this might not be really good. Okay, so let's add one decimal after the decimal point, so at least we get 9.0 or 9.1 or something like that, you know, especially for the other numbers like 22. At least we can get 22.8. Okay, so we do the same thing for the negative numbers, and we add the comma to divide them by 1000. And let's look how the data now looks like. So once you hit OK, all the numbers are now much shorter, and you can actually read them, and you can actually make sense of what's happening. Now the thing here, you need to actually tell the receiver of this report, the reader of this report, that these numbers are in thousands. Okay, so one trick you can do is to actually add that in the custom formatting. Okay, of course you can add them here also in a comment, that's okay, but you know, if you would like to add something inside the custom formatting, you can do that. So to do that, you go back to the positive number here. Okay, at the end after the comma. You know, placing parts in custom formatting is important. You know, you need to put it at the right place. Okay, so here to actually tell our reader that this is in 1000, some, you know, organizations, some companies use K to define that. Either K in lowercase or uppercase, depends. I mean, everyone is different. Okay, and you can actually see a sample here of how it's going to look. If it's not looking pretty, what you can do, you can add a space. So you can add a space here, or you can create a smaller space by adding an underscore. But let's go with the normal space. Do the same for the negative number, and be sure to add the unit after the comma. Okay, and the same thing for the negative numbers. All right. Okay, there seems to be something wrong here with the negative numbers. Let me check back again. Oh yeah, I forgot the same thing as I did before. This is a comma. It shouldn't be a comma, it should be a semicolon. Okay. All right, now let's go ahead, and as you can see here now, so we added the letter K to all the numbers. So this is to tell the reader that these numbers are in thousands. Okay, so the report is actually a little bit easier to read. Now, the final thing maybe you can do here with these numbers to make it actually nicer, you can apply to the difference only, right? You can change slightly the format. So this is a difference, okay? So you would like to show when it's up or when it's down. Okay, so if it's a, you know, an increase, so the sales of 1 year is for 2008 increased compared to 2007, you'd like kind of have something to show that. So one way to do it is, after you select, of course, the cells for the difference only, we can do a little bit of tweaking to the positive number format. What you can do, you can add plus here. So every positive number will have a plus sign associated with it. Okay, and hit OK, and as you can see here, every time, and also you can we tried the green, sorry. So every time there is an increase, you know, in sales, you can see it as a plus sign. Okay, and if it's, you know, a drop in sales, it's red, so it's flagged red, and you can see it immediately. and it's between parentheses. But at least you can see the plus here is kind of give you, a feeling that, okay, there's an improvement. Okay, so you can focus, the reader can focus quickly on, where the improvements are. Now, for example, as you can see here, this is really significant here. Almost 800K difference. And this is in laptops between 2009 and 2008. So this is one place where you can actually focus and say, okay, what was the reason why sales increased that much for laptops? Okay, so this is how you work around, the number format, the custom number format. So we try to kind of, use all of the features of the custom formatting here. Okay, so with that done, we can move on to dates. Okay, how to format dates using custom formatting. So I prepared these dates here, as you can see, so we can, play around with them and see what we can achieve. So first of all, once you open format cells, you can see the date here, and it's formatted with this standard format. Okay, so the first thing you do, you go to custom format. Now Excel checked through the custom format and actually found one that is the same as the standard format, and it gave you the code here. You can change that, of course, so you delete it, and now, as you can see here, you can see the sample is actually a number. And if you don't know by now, all dates are stored in Excel as numbers, and each day has a serial number that is equal to the number of days since January 1st, 1900. Okay, so for this date, August 28, 2008 is actually 39 and 688 days from January 1st, 1900. All right, so let's play around with the dates here and see what we get. So the first thing, you can change the format and say, okay, I want the day. Okay, so let's see, when you put one day, so double D will give you two, numbers for the date. So if it's under 10, it's going to give you 01, 02, stuff like that. And if you add a third D, see what happened in the sample here. It becomes a 3-letter day. And if you add a fourth D, you will get the full name for the day. So this kind of gives you an idea, okay, how you can play around with this. The same thing if you use month. So the month is 8, or if you use two M's, you get 08. And if you add a third, you get 3-letter abbreviation for the month. And if you add a fourth M, you get the full name for the month. The same thing goes for the year. If you use 1 year, you get 08, because this is the minimum you get. Same for two Y's. 3 is going to give you 2008. 4 is going to give you 2008 as well. So basically, you will be using 2 Y's or 4 Y's, depends on what you would like. So the good thing with the date custom format, it's up to your imagination. What you can do, just mix and match unlimited options of showing or displaying dates. So one format that comes to mind is using DDD to get the 3-letter abbreviation for the day, and then maybe I can use square brackets. Okay, and I would like to use DD, and can you use this? So probably cannot. Yeah. So I can use DD. Yeah, I cannot use the square brackets because it's reserved for the color and the elapsed time. So I can use parentheses, and I can use double D's there and M to get 28th of August, and then maybe 2-year letter abbreviation for the year. And as you can see here, this sample shows me the format, the final format. So once you hit OK, this gets applied to everyone here. Okay, So as you can see here, all the dates are now formatted the way you like them, okay? And sometimes, you would like to kind of show the day name with the date. And you would like to, come up with your own custom formatting for it. So go wild with these things. I mean, you can. It's up to you because it's all about making people understand your data quickly, kind of get the information in a faster manner. So one other format that you can apply is maybe you can use the and /dd. So and you can just and that's maybe enough for you to show in a certain report. And as you can see here, you can start seeing, so the data is actually stored correctly, as you can see here, but the display is different. So always keep in mind that storing data is different than displaying it. Okay, so you have the option to play around with those dates. Okay, so there's unlimited ways of doing it. Thursday, for example, and you can make let's say, and you can make DD, for example, for the day, and maybe not use anything as a separator for your dates, and you can use a full year here, something like that. And you apply it, it's gonna show up the way you design it. So play around with those, create your custom formatting, and you can actually even add at the end another day there. So you have the day at both ends. You're not gonna be doing that, but it's nice that you can. So I'm trying to demonstrate here that you have full freedom when it comes to custom formatting dates. Okay. So let's go back, and there is something I didn't mention, that all of the custom formats that you have, you can delete at any time. Okay, so you have the option here to delete. Some of the custom formats that provided by Excel, you cannot actually delete them, so they are protected. Anyway, so using this format here, we can let that go. The other thing, maybe you'd like to know how many hours between two dates. And what you can do is first you subtract both dates here. Okay, what do you get? You get 170 days. Okay, so this is the difference in days. If you'd like to display that as an elapsed time, like hours, so how many hours in 170 days, what you can do, you can use custom format here. Okay, and use these square brackets to define elapsed time. And note, as you close this, you get in the sample here that is going to be 4,080 hours in 170 and the minute, and you add the minute here, and you can add the seconds as well. Okay, so and this is how it's gonna look. Okay, so with that, I think we reached the end of our video. So what I would like you to understand and keep an eye on is these options that you have here. We covered all of them in our custom formatting, and also these things that you can apply without using a quotation marks and the colors, so you can use all of them. All right, so with that, I would like to thank you so much for watching this video, and please, if you haven't done so already, please subscribe, and please keep coming back for more things like this in the future. Thank you so much.